Imagine a single storm killing more Americans than the terrorist attacks of September 11th, Hurricane Katrina, and the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami combined. This actually happened on September 8, 1900, when the deadliest natural disaster in United States history struck Galveston, Texas. In the late 1800s, Galveston was the jewel of Texas. This barrier island city boasted a population of nearly 38,000 people and served as the state's primary port. Wealthy merchants built Victorian mansions along tree-lined streets. The city's economy thrived on cotton exports and shipping. Galvestonians called their home the New York of the Gulf. They believed their island paradise was invincible. But Galveston had a fatal flaw. The entire island sat just 8 feet above sea level at its highest point. Most areas rose only 4 or 5 feet above the Gulf of Mexico. City leaders had repeatedly dismissed proposals to build a seawall. They considered such warnings unnecessarily alarmist and too expensive. In early September 1900, a tropical storm formed off the coast of Africa. It crossed the Atlantic, devastated Cuba, then entered the Gulf of Mexico. The United States Weather Bureau tracked the system, but meteorological science was still primitive. Weather forecasters in Washington disagreed about the storm's path. They predicted it would hit Florida, not Texas. Isaac Klein was Galveston's chief meteorologist. On September 7th, he noticed the Gulf waters rising and heavy swells approaching the beach. The barometric pressure was dropping rapidly. Klein grew increasingly concerned, but he had previously written that Galveston was safe from serious hurricane damage. The city had no evacuation plan and no way to warn everyone quickly. By dawn on September 8th, water covered the island's streets. Residents initially treated the flooding as a novelty. Children played in the rising water. Adults gathered on beaches to watch the massive waves. They had no idea what was coming. The hurricane struck with terrifying speed. Winds reached 145 miles per hour, making it a Category 4 storm. A massive storm surge, estimated at 15 feet high, swept across the low-lying island. The water had nowhere to go. Buildings that had stood for decades crumbled like sandcastles. Wooden structures became battering rams, smashing into anything in their path. Isaac Klein's own house collapsed with his pregnant wife, 3 daughters and brother inside. His wife drowned, but the others survived by clinging to debris. One survivor later wrote, "The waters covered the island to a depth of 15 feet. Houses were crushed like eggshells. The roar was deafening." The hurricane raged for hours. Families huddled in attics as water rose through their homes. Some climbed onto roofs, only to be swept away. Others clung to floating debris in the churning water. The darkness brought no relief. Lightning illuminated scenes of unimaginable destruction. The wind's howl mixed with screams for help. When the storm finally passed, dawn revealed an apocalyptic landscape. Over 3,600 homes had been destroyed. Debris covered the entire island. Bodies lay everywhere. The actual death toll remains unknown. Conservative estimates suggest at least 6,000 people died. Some historians believe the number exceeded 12,000. Entire families vanished without a trace. The aftermath presented horrific challenges. In the September heat, thousands of decomposing bodies created a public health crisis. Authorities initially tried burial at sea, loading corpses onto barges, but the bodies washed back to shore. Workers then built massive funeral pyres. The fires burned for weeks. The smoke and smell haunted survivors for the rest of their lives. Rather than abandon their devastated city, Galvestonians chose to rebuild. But this time, they would do it right. Engineers designed an ambitious plan. They would construct a massive seawall and raise the entire city's elevation. Over the next decade, workers built a 3-mile-long concrete barrier, 17 feet high. They pumped sand underneath every building, lifting structures by as much as 17 feet. Houses, churches, and even a 3,000-ton cathedral were jacked up and filled beneath. The Great Galveston Hurricane changed how America approached coastal development and disaster preparedness. It led to improved weather forecasting systems and emergency response protocols. The storm proved that no community was invincible against nature's fury. Galveston survived, but it never regained its status as Texas's premier city. Houston, safer inland, became the region's economic center. Today, Galveston's seawall still protects the island. It has withstood numerous hurricanes, including several major storms. The raised grade remains visible in the city's unusual topography. These engineering marvels stand as monuments to both the catastrophe and human resilience. Sometimes our greatest lessons come from our most devastating losses.